Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. My good friend Rich Baxter, how are you?
Good. How you doing, Gary? Welcome to 2021.
2021. Do you believe it, Rich?
No, I couldn't fathom a time where we would not be talking 2020 anymore, but it's so good to be looking at it through the history, so to speak.
Yes, glad to see that freaking year go away. It was such a nuisance and everything, and now we're in a new year, but as we start this new year, Rich, we've got that ugly trend that we had last year. We continue to lose Hall of Famers.
Yeah, yeah.
It,
Sadly, Tommy
uh,
Lasorda passes away at 93 years old. One of the big names of the game for what, 50 years
oh,
probably or
forever it
more.
seems, right? And one of the guys that you wouldn't have thought that you wouldn't think would have been lost to us as he just seemed to go on forever.
Yeah, yeah, 93 years old. Hard to believe he was 93. I was in shock when I read that.
Yeah, yeah, it really 93. He had a really good long life, and of course, uh, he always said he bled Dodger blue, if you remember that. And what can you say? Tommy was a character. He was around a long time, and he lived to see his Dodgers win again a World Series. So I guess he went happily.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Uh, a legend in the game. He was one of those guys like a Yogi Berra, someone like that. Probably Casey Stengel, which I didn't get to experience him too much as a young baseball fan. But yeah, these guys are like bedrocks of the game, so to speak. When you take somebody like him out of the game, it's like a big piece of the foundation of baseball.
So true, so true. It just takes away, as you say, the games that we grew up with, the guys that we grew up with, and I guess that's part of getting old.
Yeah.
We're getting older, and they're getting older as well, and unfortunately, with old age, nobody gets out of here alive, and neither do they.
Yeah. And of course, Mike Piazza, relative of Lasorda's, he brought him into the game, became a superstar against all odds. And he had a I don't know how he dealt with other team mascots, but he really didn't like the Philly Fanatic at all. Because of course the Philly Fanatic would be out there and wanting to smash the helmets, a cheap batting practice helmet of the Dodgers when they came into town, or walk on one of the jerseys, something like that. Well, Tommy Lasorda would have none of that, and he used to get out there and there's a famous video that circulates to this day of him uh, with a Dodgers dummy beating the Fanatic over the head with it because the Fanatic somehow obtained this dummy and was trying to
uh,
portray the Dodgers in a bad light. So yeah, he didn't have none of that. He didn't like the San Diego Super Chicken at all.
yeah, I don't think he cared much for mascots at all.
Yeah.
It seems like Tommy was an old school dude, and that was it. He didn't go for all of the ruckus, though. It's odd because he did spend a lot of time in the minors before he got to the majors as a manager, and the minors all had that that kind of stuff, the mascots and the crazy things between innings. So you think he would have been used to it? Maybe he just had enough of it.
Yeah, he didn't go for any disparaging comments or actions against the Dodgers. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, so uh, as we said, Tommy Lasorda passed away at the age of 93, and Rob Manfred has announced, Rich, that we are going to have a 162 game season. Prepare for 162 games. He told the owners, and we're going to have this. I guess we'll have all the All-Star game and all the other festivities that we didn't have last year.
Yeah, going to be interesting again, as we were saying last year with the season. Of course, the MLB expecting a full season at this point. Hockey just started up the other night. They're playing to no fans again in the stands, of course. And baseball may start out that way as well. Although it seems like there may be a light at the end of the tunnel, that light is way far down the tunnel right as we speak. Unfortunately, from coast to coast, we've had record breaking deaths attributed to the COVID-19 virus. 4,200 probably last week at some time in one day. That's, I think we're up to almost 400,000 dead across the country of the U.S. alone, which is it's a terrible thing still that we haven't seen the last of this yet.
Yeah, and we do have a new president coming in. So that's going to solve everything, according to him. So, we'll have to see. But I don't know. I believe it when I see it. Uh, they're talking about the DH. They don't think it's going to be this year in the National League, but it'll probably be next year. I think they want to use it as a negotiation tool, but they do say that what they want to see is the 7 inning double headers stay and the man on second base in an extra inning game. And I think, to me, that man on second base is the most stupidest rule I've ever heard of.
Yeah, I could do without that. Now, the only way I like the 7 inning double headers is if they did it like they did from years ago and schedule the double header. You pay one price, you get in for 2 games. Then I would do the 7 gamer, but don't give me the 1 o'clock start and the 6 o'clock start being two separate gates of 7 innings. That to me is a farce.
That's an interesting point because that's technically, I mean, they call it a day-night doubleheader, but that's an interesting point. Does that count as a 7 inning job then, or would they have to do 2 9 inning games? That's I never even thought of it. That's a great point about that. Maybe we can get an answer to that. Somebody out there can answer that for us. But Rich, you've done it again with that. You stumped everybody, I think,
Well,
out there.
well, I have to go back to my dad to thank for that because that's the games he would want to take us to. If you're going to go to one baseball game during the season, you go to that twilight doubleheader, 2 for the price of 1. And I can still remember his motto on that.
Well, a great motto it is. I can remember going to them games, and I can remember when I was younger, I wanted to go to the games, and then I reached an age where I didn't want to go to a doubleheader because it was too long.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to again, and now I'm kind of in between because I kind of like double headers, but I'm like, I don't know if I want to sit there, because
Yeah.
then the knee hurts and the hip hurts, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
you
You
got
gotta
to be a
get up
certain
and
age.
move
Yeah,
around the
yeah,
concourse a little.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's where that is. But yeah, that's a great point. Wonder if anybody addressed that issue at all.
Yeah, with the way money and teams being hungry as they are anymore, it wouldn't surprise me that you wouldn't get the 2-for-1. But
Yeah.
as you said, yeah, the 2021 season expected to start on time. Here's an article. If you're watching our video feed, MLB Trade Rumors says as of a couple days into the year that um, even in the time of COVID-19, they expect the season to go off as planned. April 1st is supposed to be the starting day of the season, um, with a full spring training as well. So we're about 1 month out of spring training, Gary. So it's starting to
Hmm.
get a little close.
Yeah, and I think that we'll learn a lot more at the end of this week after the inauguration and everything, and I think people will get a better feel of what is going to happen in the country, whether he goes to a lockdown or not. Even though they've shown that lockdowns are ridiculous, they don't work at all, and because when you come out of the lockdown, your immune system's down anyway because you're used to not being in with people. So I would imagine uh they'll examine that and they'll see. But yeah, I think a lot more is going to be known at the end of this week.
Yeah. And as you said, yeah, a couple days from now, the new president comes in and we have to deal with it. So whatever happens, we got the 91st All-Star game on tap this year, Gary. Supposed to be played in Atlanta, July 13th, 2021. So that's interesting to start off the season. Of course, the MLB itself was founded in 1903, although baseball goes back before that. The National League started in 1876, the American League in 1901. And this year will be the last year for Cleveland fans to associate their baseball team with the name Indians, believe it or not.
Now, will they go the year with the Indians moniker, or are they scheduled to change it before the season, or will they go with the Cleveland baseball team like Washington did? Any word on any of that?
Well, the last I've been reading about it is that they're dropping the name after this season. So 2021 will be the season that they'll still be called the Cleveland Indians. And of course, this team has been called the Cleveland Indians for 106 years. So all of a sudden, in this day of an age of enlightenment here in 2021, 2020, that shouldn't have never happened, folks. That's such an egregious. Oh
Oh
my
my
God,
God.
we've tarnished the reputation of Indian. Like, give me a break.
You almost wonder, is it that they're against the name so much, or were they against Chief Wahoo, but not getting rid of Chief Wahoo was enough, so they have to get rid of the whole tamale, if
The
you
hot
will.
tam- the hot tamale. It went out with the Mrs. Butterworth,
Oh
uh,
my God.
Aunt Jemima. I
Uncle
look
Ben.
forward. Uncle Ben. When I looked at those products, I had an association with those people. I was like, damn, Aunt Jemima is cool. I would buy that for that purpose, believe it or not. I love to look at Aunt Jemima because to me that meant that, damn, like I pictured somebody with a big smock over themselves making pancakes and waffles to the T. I mean, you have to, that's a certain specialty.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And
that
the
I loved.
and the first woman that did it became a like a millionaire from it.
Exactly.
because she
Now,
pushed it. She went out on the road and stuff,
exactly.
and you know, put out recipes, I think, and
That's
she
called American ingenuity and creativity. It had nothing to do with that's a black lady in a apron. You know,
I never
that was
thought of
good.
that though. I never thought of the whole plantation South when I saw that. I never thought of Uncle Ben as some sort of.
Never. I thought it was cool. I thought
I
it
just
was,
thought it was Uncle, you know, somebody's uncle that made rice down south.
and
You
I
know.
think it was a compliment to the people that were on those labels, obviously. So we're looking at it from a totally different light than what the youngsters, and I'll use that in air quotes, have, picked up upon, and, because of their whatever, their brainwashing through school, taught that everything's wrong and everything's bad. No, it's not, folks. Come on, like, back it up, roll it back a little bit. You've
Rich, we
all been
may
sold a
we
bill of goods.
we may get banned from YouTube for this.
I don't care. I hope they ban us from YouTube. Did we do something wrong?
Stop the steal.
Stop the steal. I have a box of Aunt Jemima and I'm going to save it. Stop the steal. Like, I am not buying it anymore because that picture is not on the box. And I swear.
Well, what did they change it to? I mean, have they put out another product, or is there
No,
still
they just
Aunt
sort of,
Jemima on the store shelves?
no. If you find it now, you're going to look at an old box because I have one, believe it or not, that I bought a while ago, but I still have it. And
So,
it's going to be a collector's item.
so here's my question to those left wing people out there. If you put a white woman in and called it Aunt Jemima and still sold the product, would that be satisfactory, or would it be white privilege then? Then would we be pushing out a woman of color to get a white woman in? I mean, you know,
It's crazy.
it's
Absolutely.
nuts. It's a nutty world, and it's not gonna get any better in this country. uh not with this new president coming in, if he gets inaugurated. this
I was looking at a local sign that was posted on one of the Facebook forums of a restaurant that used to be in Atlantic City called China Land. And immediately I thought to myself, "Oh God, these people today would have a fit." But that was one of the best Chinese restaurants owned by a local family that was par excellence, part of America, what America stands for. A Chinese family that came over here and made it big, bought a building, put their kids through the best schools, got educations. That's what it's all about, folks. You're missing the boat. But of course, this is a baseball podcast, so I think we should hop off of this theme, Gary.
Okay, we can, but you know, the way Rob Manfred is changing the rules in baseball, he might want to do away with the stolen bases. So then he would have the hashtag stop the steal, right?
And he is a hash bag, by the way. Excellent term for it.
Well, we're definitely finished on YouTube. Well, there's always Rumble. Maybe we'll get started over there with the
Well, we can't go to the parlor anymore. God, closed it down.
and I quit Twitter, so I'm not there anymore. So don't look for me there. But yeah, it's crazy, and like I said, I think at the end of this week, depending upon what happens, you know, speaking of YouTube, there's lots of religious people putting out prophecies and stuff, and a lot of them are consistent that say that Mr. Trump will serve another 4 years, and it'll be starting tomorrow or starting Wednesday. So that there's going to be something happens in the next couple of days. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be of biblical proportions. So we'll wait and see what happens there. Maybe not the next 2 days, but I don't know. They don't give Biden much of a chance of becoming president. So who's to argue with the big guy, right? Not me. Certainly not me. But we'll see. But I think that's what really baseball and a lot of these announcements that are being held back are really waiting for, to see what kind of decisions start coming out of Washington, about lockdowns, and they may be talking to governors or getting the feel from governors across the states right now, about letting people into games, about travel, between the different things. And Canada's still not, the hockey teams, from what I understand, the Canadian teams are playing only in Canada. They can't come to the States, and the teams can't go to Canada. So, where does that leave Toronto again? Especially if the minor leagues start, because they last year they played in their AAA affiliate in Buffalo. But if Buffalo's playing, how are the Blue Jays going to play? It's still a mess.
Yeah, still a lot of loose ends to be tied up. And hopefully maybe by the next time we do a podcast, we'll have a better understanding of what's going to happen. But from all we're reading about, they're planning on starting the season on time, fans or no fans. So we'll look forward to that as well.
And if we're not banned, we will have another podcast. and you can become part of that podcast by giving us a call at 516-619-6341 and leave a message, a comment, or a question. Or if you'd like to help us out, you can see up here above me, you can support us on Patreon by going to patreon.com and slash baseball talk and leaving a donation there, or go to anchor.fm slash baseball talk radio show and leave a donation there. And Rich, that would help us out quite a bit.
Yes, it would. And I implore our listeners, go on over to Patreon, as Gary just said, patreon.com/baseball talk. You'll see our logo here and our picture, and you can just sign up right from there. And as I was saying before on our last show, we don't have any Patreons right now. It's at 0. So you can be the first. We've had them over the years, though. So I invite you to stop by the page, click on the donate button. And if you stay with us at a certain amount for a certain time, which is $10 a month, which is a lot, for 6 months, you're going to get your choice of a mug. There's 2 mugs you can choose from, a larger mug and a smaller mug. So when you're having your coffee, you can think of our show. A 6-month, $10 a month promo, and we're going to send you a mug. So it's a good deal. You're getting something for free. We're getting a small donation by the time we give you the mug. But we invite you to do that. We can get some new stuff, new things going on with the program. Traveling, doing things like that eventually when things open up. And as Gary said, we'd love to have you as a sponsor of the show, as well as getting in contact with us. Like Gary said, he just gave out the number. You can leave us a voicemail or send us an email, rich@baseballtalkradio.com or gary@baseballtalkradio.com. You can get right over to us. So we have a lot of listeners out there, Gary. I was just checking the stats. We're at like 87% of our listeners listen from iTunes, the Apple Tunes music store. So we thank them for listening there.
That's great. Thank you so much. And always happy to, hear from our listeners and get some feedback. It really does help to see whether we're doing the right thing, or there's something else you'd like to see. Um, and it helps us grow the whole baseball talk radio show community, and you should check out the other podcasts on the website, baseballtalkradio.com and baseballpodcast.net. So
Yeah.
go check it all out. It's all there, and we're still in a pandemic and people still working from home, so if you have time, it pays to go check it out and see what we have to offer there.
Yeah.
And
Can I
go
jump
ahead.
in for just a moment?
Yes, go ahead, Rich.
We've had some upgraded listenership in Amazon Alexa. We're at 4% of our listeners are listening to our show from their Amazon Alexa. So I think that's great that you can just say, play me the latest Baseball Talk Radio Show podcast and listen to our shows from those devices. Smart speakers, that includes Google and Apple. They have their own smart speakers. You can say those words, listen to the latest Baseball Talk Radio Show podcast, and hear our show. So it's making it easier for people to listen to podcasts. We're up to 5% of our listeners, Gary, listening from what they call smart speakers. So that number was at 0 last year. So we're shooting up in the numbers there with smart speaker people. So thanks for listening, everyone.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, thank you so much. And we're working on some things, as you'll see with this video. We're trying to do some different things and see, and maybe we'll go back to doing some live shows now and then. Rich, we used to do live, and it's a hassle, but we'll have to see. Maybe once in a while we'll go back to that. And
Yeah. And for the most part, we do record these live, and
mhm.
then Gary mixes up the dub overs on the video, which is time consuming. And, everything has a cost. It's not free to produce these, and I'm not asking you to pay for them. But if you would like to subscribe, I think it would be awesome for you to do that. And if you have any questions or concerns, maybe you want to um, make a different arrangement with us, send us an email. We'd be glad to listen to you.
And again, you can give us a call at the hotline there, and if you have a question or a comment or a
What is that?
message.
What is that hotline number?
It's 516-619-6341. And Rich, I know you can't see it, but the folks watching the video can see it right now. As
Awesome.
our handsome faces are up there, and a little message that I put together so they can see the number up on there, and give us a break to scratch the top of our heads if we want, so we're not on camera the whole time. So
That's great. Well, thank you, everyone. And we appreciate you supporting the show.
And Rich, speaking of support, a lot of the minor league teams that were in existence last year, 2 years ago, are not going to have the support of Major League Baseball anymore. And we're starting to see lawsuits come down. And interestingly enough, there's been two lawsuits, and they've both been from teams that played in the New York Penn League, which is no more. And the latest is the Tri-City Valley Cats suing the Houston Astros and Major League Baseball arising out of the offseason contraction of minor league baseball. The first affiliate to do it was the Staten Island Yankees, who sued the parent team. The Valley Cats are seeking at least $15 million in damage. Is the crux of the team's claim is that they relied upon the now expired affiliation agreement between Major League Baseball and minor league baseball in selling tickets and advertising sponsorships, and that all lost value when they lost their affiliation. Now, the Valley Cats do remain operational. They will be a member of the MLB partnered Frontier League, but will no longer serve as a traditional minor league affiliate. And that minor league affiliate is really, that's what these small time teams want, Rich.
Yeah. As you said, some of these leagues have been in existence for 75 years and all of a sudden wiped off the map of major league pipelines. Let's face it, you want to go to see a player that you may see on a team in 2 to 3 years. That's part of the draw of those teams. But as you said, Gary, the baseball with its heavy hand, we may not have seen the last of the lawsuits with this. In addition to just the overall theme of the MLB, where they want to control everything, sort of like establish some sort of monopoly on baseball, which I don't think is good anytime you do that.
Yeah, I agree. It's too much. I think we're seeing that now with social media, how much power Twitter and Facebook has, and even Amazon. I love Amazon, but when you get to be my age, you don't want to run out to the stores as much, especially in a pandemic. So Amazon's got everything you could possibly need. But these companies are bordering on monopolies, and we did a lot in the early part of the 20th century to get away to break up monopolies, and I can see it happening again.
And I invited my the younger listeners to shop around too. Don't just rely on Amazon for your every whim. A lot of people do. I know my own son is is in that millennial group, and when I talk to him and his gal, oh, I'll just order that on Amazon. Well, that's not always the best price. You can go to local stores right around the corner from you and save $20 or $30. Plus, you're paying Amazon if you're a Prime member. You're paying them at least $13 a month, somewhere in that range. Although they do discount Section 8 people, which is on welfare, they give them a cheaper price. I think it's like $9 a month. Okay. So we're cutting your price by $4 a month. Thank you very much, Amazon.
But
Which
how
I,
much? How much do they buy?
yeah, well, that's what I mean. You'd be probably surprised, probably quite a bit. But uh, the whole concept of it is, as you said, with people that can't get out, shouldn't get out, especially on the pandemic, it kind of makes sense. But millennials, please don't rest every laurel on Amazon. You're making Mr. Bezos a multi billionaire, and he's taking your money, and you're paying a lot more for products.
And I feel bad about it, but sometimes there are, as I say, with being in that age range of and being slightly on the chubby side, slightly. Uh,
Boom,
I
boom.
I'm yeah, I'm in a
All
high
right, me too.
risk. I'm in a high risk category, so also my age, I will be. Well, we won't say, but I'm old enough to get a shot now, so you
Yeah.
can go figure that out. But anyway, all of that being said, Amazon has been a godsend, and a lot of the stuff that I get that has to do with like electronics or something, it really is. I do what exactly what you say. I do check around, and um there was something I was looking for. I forget what it was, and Best Buy had it, and Best Buy had it for $3 cheaper, but I wouldn't have gotten it for like 3 weeks, and I would have had to pay
Yeah.
for shipping. With
Yeah.
Amazon, I got it in 2 days, and I don't get charged because I'm a Prime member, so I am paying for the Prime. But
Yeah.
uh, if you use the Prime, I mean, if you're a Prime member, there's a lot more than just the shipping, and I don't think people realize that. That's why they make money off you. But there are the videos that you can get on there and watch in your house, so there are some things, and like you say, it's not the best, but it is a good thing for shut-ins and for seniors,
A
and
lot of sports people will remember some of the older ones, Sears,
yeah,
back in the
yeah.
day. Sears totally dropped the ball when Amazon used to be an audiobooks company.
Hmm.
Amazon started off as like a bookseller. They
Yeah,
didn't start off to be what they are today.
that's right. That's
Sears
right.
should have recognized this because they had a catalog in the old days and they couldn't stock everything at a local Sears, even though they're so big. But if you looked through the catalog and ordered it, you'd have it in 2 or 3 days. Back then, that was a fast exchange.
Right.
Sears could have been the Amazon of this world if they were just clueful about knowing that this was on the way. But they dropped the ball and now they're out of business.
Yeah, yeah, and God, remember to see his catalog used to be like
Yeah,
this
yeah, that's what
thick,
I mean. That was the
and
equivalent of online now, the
yeah,
catalogs.
yeah, yeah,
And you could
yeah.
have it in 2 to 3 days, usually at your local pickup Sears, but now everything would have changed. I can't believe they would have just tanked like an old ship and sunk. But
Just poor management. They just
yeah,
didn't have the foresight to see where the world was going, and
and they always had a lot of sports stuff. Getting back to the
yeah,
sports,
yeah. And they
um,
had Ted Williams. Remember Ted Williams, the
yeah,
famous the Hall of Famer? He was a big spokesman for them, and they had
yeah,
Ted Williams baseball equipment, and Ted Williams fishing equipment was huge there, because Ted Williams was an avid fisherman, and
yeah,
they had a lot of his stuff. And then around Christmas time, the Christmas catalog would come back, and that was always the favorite, because when I was a kid, because the toys in there, I always wanted the tri-level gas station that they had, and
yeah,
you'd crank up and the car would go up.
yeah, sure.
Oh my God, I'm really showing my age in this
and
show, Rich.
and and the baseball you know shirts and things that were on display. But
Yep, yep.
unfortunately all things do change. But hey, we're going to have the Field of Dream games this year, apparently, Gary. August 12th, Yankees versus White Sox in Dyersville, Iowa, which is close to where they filmed that movie Field of Dreams. So apparently it's going to take place this year, hopefully.
Well, it better, because they've got a lot of bucks into that game.
Yeah.
They as you said, they I believe the story was that they were originally going to play it on the same field as the movie was made, but they couldn't build it up or something, so they took land very nearby, and built like I don't know I guess the equivalent to a minor league stadium or something.
Yeah.
Which they've done in the past. If you recall, a couple of years ago, they did it on the military base. They built the stadium, and they done it in Williams. They played in Williamsport, I think, the following year, but that was in a minor league club. But they added some, they built that up a little to make it more for professional baseball. So, people were looking forward to this last year, and it didn't happen, of course.
Yep. So we're looking forward to that this year. And like we were talking about, spring training's about less than a month away here. Wondering, should I try it again? Number two. I don't, I got a bad feeling about it still, though. I don't really believe that, fans will be a part of that. So who knows? I mean, maybe worth trip down just for the heck of it, but
Well,
we'll see.
Florida is open and doing well, so who knows? It may who knows what they're going to do? But as I said, I think we'll know more in the next couple of weeks if you can wait on your plans a little bit. And uh, we still had an interesting, you still had an interesting experience last year that you shared with us, and I urge people to go to YouTube and go check out Rich's uh,
My
travel
travels,
journey, if it
baseball.
was
I
from
tried to make it
Florida.
interesting.
It was very interesting. We did well, Rich was live in Florida walking around the Yankees camp, and
Yeah.
uh
Popped over to Toronto Stadium
yep, yep.
and
And
Pittsburgh.
it was very interesting, the material that he had for us last year. So go check
Yeah.
that out again if you could, just to see somebody in the middle of a pandemic.
I'll take my man on the street Zoom.
Yeah,
Before-
yeah.
Yeah.
And well, so you reconsidering that trip again, huh? Okay.
I'm revisiting it. Yes, indeed.
I don't think I'll be going anywhere for, until this bug is completely out of the way. And unfortunately, as we said, my wife has had some health issues and has a compromised immune system, and we are both in that age and weight category that puts us at a high risk. So I don't think we'll be going anywhere soon.
All right. Well, I'll have to report from the field then for you.
That's right.
Firsthand.
We'll do it live as
You know what I was very struck at? I don't know if I said this during our shows last year, but the Japanese media was just about the only media that I saw really covering this game like it should have been covered. Uh, in fact, the stories that were coming out of spring training or weren't coming out of spring training, they were really the only crews that were on the scene with reports. I thought it was amazing. My kudos to them for, doing the job, so to speak, and being on the scene at these places, which I was looking at them, from a distance.
Well, that's a fascinating a bit. And were they masked?
At the time, no, because at that time, the mask situation wasn't an equation. In fact, I wasn't even in a mask. That was sort of not at that point recommended or even talked about, believe it or
Mm-hmm.
not. But yeah, they were at the Yankees spring training complex. They were at the Toronto spring training complex and, getting the job done, like
Yeah.
I didn't see many other media. There was a couple other media at the Yankees facility that were with them, but overall, I saw them carrying the torch, so to speak, of baseball.
Well, it's interesting because it's big over there, and I guess they were covering some uh, specific, or they might
Players.
have been over here to cover some specific players, and it just carried over.
Yeah.
They were probably kind of trapped here as well, with
Yeah.
everything going on. So, but that's interesting to see whether or not you go again, and it'll be fun if you do it again. And
All right.
can do it. So
I'll declare it on my taxes as a business trip. How's
there you
that?
go. There you go. Well, Rich, anything else on your agenda?
I think let's see. Theo Epstein moving up to the MLB front office, left the employment of the Cubs since last year, the end of last year. President, chief operations there with the Cubs, left the game. Now he's with the MLB front office. He's trying to, quote unquote, and I use this, fix the game, as they say. I didn't know it was broken all that much. I know it's a bit bruised, but he's moved on to that. Who knows what his future lies within the baseball world, but he's taken a good step to getting something done with the MLB.
Well, Rich, and they may need him to fix the game because a former Los Angeles Angels employee, Brian Bubber Harkins,
Uh-huh.
is naming names. He was fired by the Angels last March, and he said in court papers a couple of weeks ago that multiple Cy Young winners and All Star pitchers used illegal pitching substances distributed by Harkins himself, according to Mike DiGiovanni of the Los Angeles Times. He named a number of former and current Angels players, including Troy Percival, Brendan Donnelly, Tyler Chatwood, Kevin Jepson, and most recently Cam Bedrosian, Keenan Middleman, Yusmero Petit, Luke Bard, Matt Andrees, Dylan Peters, Jose Suarez, and Dylan Bundy. He also said he has evidence suggesting that Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, Adam Wainwright, Corey Kluber, and Felix Hernandez all used an illegal pitching substance to improve their grip on the ball. So another
Controversy.
possible cheating scandal in baseball.
Interesting. I did not see that story, so we'll probably be hearing a lot more of that one.
Well, we'll see. Unless Theo Epstein can work his magic and clean the game up and bury that story at the same time.
And fix everything.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for tuning in to this edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. 17th of January, rolling on here. Looking forward towards the start of spring training. We'll have a lot more on player movement for the next show. And Gary, it was a pleasure.
As always, Rich, and we'll know more about the season hopefully next time. So we'll see you all then on the next edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show.